All right, guys, we are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, Good to see all you guys. Hopefully, you are having a good Thursday, and we're catching you at a good time. We're trying 12 o'clock instead of 3. See if it's more convenient for some of you. This will also be made available on demand for those of you who maybe missed it. I guess if you I guess if you missed it, you're not on here. Oh, sorry about that. Well, I'm just going to get started. But thank you all for coming in today, or it's I guess it's a little bit of a tough day. Thank you all for not coming in but attending today. What I'm going to talk about is just some things to think about before the end of the year. Definitely don't get overwhelmed by it. Right. I'm going to go over quite a bit of stuff. And if I go through this checklist and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to cover all of that. Just know that if you want to talk about these things, we can also create an order of priority and talk about what things need to get done before the end of the year versus what things we can do maybe at the beginning of the year. So with that, I'm going to get started. As always, I first have to show you the disclosures. I am not employed by, affiliated with, or endorsed by the IRS, Social Security Administration, or any other government agency. So there's nothing in here that's intended to be tax advice or specific advice to any particular situation. All examples are hypothetical, and actual results will, of course, vary. So really today is going to be to review any financial changes that may have occurred in your life over the last 12 months, right? Everyone should have a copy of what you see on the screen, the last chance checklist in front of you. So I'm going to be going through the sections on that card one by one, and I'll talk about each one a little bit as I go through this presentation. And really the last year or so may have brought some unexpected changes in your financial life, right? I know several of you have decided to retire early, change jobs. A lot of you have sold your homes. But even if you have not made any major life changes, it's important to review your entire financial picture. So today I'm going to go into the things that we see quite a bit. We're going to address 8 different areas in your financial life that you should be thinking about as the year wraps up. So first and foremost, be sure to write down any person that may need to be consulted with when looking over your finances, right? This could be your CPA or tax professional, maybe an insurance agent, attorney, us, your advisors. And write down their name, phone number on the backside of the card. So that way, if anything we talk about today that you need to contact them, you kind of have a reminder to yourself to reach out to them. So throughout the presentation today, I'm going to review those 8 sections. Make sure to check mark those that apply to you. Right. And feel free to add your own notes. And again, any contact information of those that you may need to talk to. And if we run into something that you don't have somebody to talk to about it and you need someone to be introduced to someone to help you with those things, please let us know. And then after this presentation today, again, just like always, you'll have access to schedule time with me or your advisor here at Foundation Wealth. So the first area I want to talk about is taxes. So with proposed tax changes on the horizon right now, I'm sure a lot of you are going to have some questions. And here's some areas you may want to review over the next few months. So we need to look at maybe what your income is projected to be for 2021, see if there's anything that you or anything you may qualify for due to your income. Maybe this is a year where you have less income than usual and it qualifies you to do some other things from a tax perspective. And then also let's talk about 2022, right? Is there anything unusual or different about 2022 that maybe opens the door to do some things in terms of the Tax Cuts and Job Acts, right? I know that was 4 years ago, but we did that webinar on that a couple of weeks ago, and I'm always surprised at how eye-opening something that's already 4 years old is for some people. So we can kind of look at your situation, see if there's any opportunity there. When you do that, of course, you have to look at your realized and unrealized gains to see how that's going to affect you for the year. Collecting cost basis information on sold securities. I will say that I find that this most often has to do with property or businesses that you had, right? If you sold it and there's going to be some realized gains from it, making sure there's a good understanding of what your cost basis was. So that way you get an accurate picture of what you owe in taxes. Again, review sales of appreciated property like real estate. Again, that kind of goes in with that cost basis. Check for any loss carry forwards from last year. So 2020, during the very quick recession that we had at the beginning of the year, I know there were some losses created, and some of those losses were carried forward into this year. You need to take a look at those and see if any of those can help you out this year. In terms of reviewing potential deductions and credits for 2022, that goes along with projecting your income for next year, looking at your situation and seeing if there's anything in particular that applies that maybe didn't in the past. Tracking your donations to charity. If you are charitably inclined, or you make sure that you give a certain amount, now's a good time to look at what you've given so far and see if there's other deductions or other donations that you need to make. And of course, if you are in that stage where you are now gifting assets to your heirs, need to check on that, make sure that everything that you wanted to get done this year is done. Next up is retirement. So, retirement comes with a lot of decisions. Whether you're retired or are currently thinking about retirement, there are areas that should definitely be addressed, right? So looking at your 401k contributions, do you still have some room left that you can fully max that out before the end of the year? Or are you eligible to make an IRA contribution into a traditional IRA or maybe a Roth IRA? If you are age 50 or older, you have a catch-up contribution available to you in both the 401k and the IRA, right? So in your 401k, you are not subject to just the $19,500 limit. You can put up to $26,000 into your 401k. And for an IRA, you can put up to $7,000 if you're 50 or older. Otherwise, it's $6,000. Analyzing Roth IRA conversion scenarios. So taking a look at your IRAs, taking a look at your tax bracket and seeing if it makes sense to convert any of the money that you have in your IRA or 401k into a Roth to help reduce your tax liability later in retirement. Maybe there's a situation where you're in a low tax bracket this year and we can take advantage of that. If you are age 72 or older, we need to make sure that you have taken your required minimum distributions for the year. You do not want to miss the required minimum distribution. The penalty for not taking your required minimum distribution is 50% of what you were supposed to take out. So if you were supposed to take out 20,000 and you didn't, the IRS will penalize you 10,000. If you are newly self-employed, or maybe even if you've been self-employed for a while, but you haven't set up a retirement plan through your company, we still have time to do that before the end of the year. So that way you can get some tax deduction there as well. And then if Social Security is coming up for you, we need to talk about some Social Security claiming options and see what may be appropriate for you. Next, you need to think about your investments kind of in general, right? Some topics may be making sure that your investment strategy is aligned with your goals, checking out outstanding loans, mortgages, things like that, seeing if it makes more sense to pay those off or to keep your money invested, looking at your income and savings needs for your goals, right? Based on your, one is like, have your goals changed, and do you need to change the amount that you save towards your goals, or are you still on track? review your dividend distributions, review employee stock options. As far as dividend distributions, it's making sure you understand what was distributed. That helps from a tax perspective. And then employee stock options, if you have options available to you, making sure you know what the ramifications are should you choose to exercise those. As far as insurance is concerned, reviewing your policies every year is an important practice. Things change and you need to know your coverage for, health insurance, property, even a car insurance, everything, right? So we need to talk about reviewing your property and casualty policies, right? Your home and auto insurance, reviewing costs of current health policies. Also looking, I know it's healthcare enrollment time, looking at the options that you have available to you, making sure you're taking advantage of the one that's best for you. And then, identifying any material changes in life, your business, maybe financial circumstances that maybe require a different insurance amount, right? When we're thinking about life insurance, disability insurance, I think a good top-down review of your insurance needs is important to do every year. And I've told some of you this, I haven't told everybody this, but that's something that we've recently added into our capabilities, is we've brought on an insurance expert that can do a review of all of your insurance policies and make sure you have what you need and the appropriate coverage in all the areas that you should. Milestones, right? So did you reach any milestones within this last year, right? Those are things like reaching age 50, so that way you can make catch-up contributions. If you are age 55 and are retired, a lot of people don't know this, you can actually start taking money from your 401k without any penalty. So a lot of times people think, I've got to hit that 59 and a half year, which is the next milestone, when you can take distributions from your IRA without a penalty. And typically it's the same for your 401k. But if you are retired and your money is still in your 401k, you can actually withdraw that money from the 401k starting at age 55 to create income for yourself. Again, I mentioned a second ago, age 59 and a half, that's when you can start taking money from your IRAs without that 10% penalty. Between ages 62 and 70, that's when we got to be examining your Social Security benefits, right? Seeing when it makes sense to take advantage of that. And then at age 65, you can apply for Medicare. And then at age 72, you got to make sure that you're taking your RMDs, your required minimum distribution from your IRAs. As far as health goes, again, this is that time of year where it's time to enroll into your healthcare plan. So we want to review your employer's health insurance plan. We want to shop state health insurance exchange if you're doing it that way. Health savings account contributions. If you are in a high deductible plan at work, you're probably eligible to contribute money to a health savings account. And that's really nice because the money that goes into the health savings account is pre-tax, meaning you're not taxed on it. And when you do use that money for qualified health expenses, it also comes out tax-free. So you're never taxed on the money. It's a great option to have. Even if you don't have a lot of healthcare expenses right now, that it's not a use it or lose it deal. That money stays in your account and you get to use it later on in life, and the tax implications are still the same. Need to talk about your Medicare. Make sure you understand your enrollment options there as well. So as far as changes, COVID really brought about a lot of changes for people. A lot of things have changed, whether it's a job status change, relocation, a lot of people losing loved ones. These are things that require having a conversation, related to your financial health. Did you move? Did you sell a major asset like your home, a business, or some real estate? Have you transferred any financial assets to loved ones? Rates were super low. Did you refinance your house? Changing jobs is a pretty big deal. Did you decide maybe to retire early? That was a huge deal. Are you thinking maybe you want to retire earlier than we talked about, and you want to look and see if that's possible? That's a major deal. That's a lot of what we're doing right now. And then did you get married? Did you or get divorced? Those are things that that we need to account for. Also, again, losing a loved one. Maybe you had an addition to the family, maybe you had a child or a grandchild, or maybe an adoption, or maybe there's been a serious illness, or change in health. Um, and with that, sometimes, unfortunately, the loss of a loved one does, or the unfortunate loss of a loved one comes with a gift or inheritance. If that has occurred, what does that do to your financial situation as well? And what should you do with that? Another area to explore are changes related to your family. Do you need to, or have you contributed to education accounts for either your children, your grandchildren this year? Is it appropriate to do so? Do you have any trusts? Do those trusts need to be reviewed or made sure they're funded correctly? How about making any gifts to family members? Like I mentioned before, going ahead and, gifting some of that money to your heirs while you're still alive. And then again, looking over charitable contributions, right? So these are some areas that definitely need to be discussed to update your overall financial plan. So to wrap up everything, I know I kind of went through things quite a bit, or quite quickly, but think about any changes that occurred this year that you'd like to talk about, right? Or things that you think may be changing in 2022. Looking forward into 2022, what's important, right? And what should we as your advisors know? And some of these things, oftentimes maybe you don't think they're that important, because they have nothing to do with your accounts maybe. But when it comes to overall financial planning and making sure that you're on track for your goals, sometimes knowing these things presents opportunities to do certain things for you, or changes maybe how we're thinking about what we're doing for you. So would really love to have that discussion with you. And if there's something pressing on your mind that you really want to make sure we talk about, please let us know. So these changes and anything that you checked off, I'd love to talk about them, or at least put them on the radar before the end of the year. So I'll be reaching out to each of you. You all get an email after this. If there's anything that you want to make sure that we talk about, please don't hesitate to let me know. Or if you work with one of our other advisors here at Foundation Wealth, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. Just know that we are always only an email or a phone call away. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope you all have a great day.